Good morning, anglers. This is Anglers 48 coming to you from far Texas. Thank you for joining us. Um, I have never done a live stream on my laptop. The quality isn't as good as it is on my phone, so you know if it seems a little off, please forgive me on that. So what's going on, guys? It's a Sunday morning. No fishing this weekend. I was able to spend some time with my boy. He had a football game on Saturday, and I was there to root him on. Very proud of my boy. Very proud. I'm willing to put off some fishing to spend time with him. Um, this morning I woke up very early. Washed the truck, and I pulled the boat out. I cried a little bit after looking at the seats. Um, so I just wanted to start it up and get the dust out of it. Ran it for a while, and I hadn't charged the batteries. I went ahead and did that. You know, I like to keep it tip top shape, even though I don't use it that often. Um, yesterday, when I got home from the game, I dedicated myself on detailing and getting those rods and reels in order. They were in pretty bad shape. Once again, on an overnighter, they ended up getting exposed to salt water. Some tips needed replacement, so I got to it, took care of that, put some new line on the reels, greased them up, so they're ready. They're ready. Hopefully next week brings some nice, good fishing weather. Um, Hopefully this is the plan. Going on Tony's boat to Port Mansfield, Texas, and fishing those cuts. No, excuse me, those island cuts that are on the east side um, of the town. The ones you see as you're heading towards the east cut. A lot of anglers go out that way on the kayaks, and they do really well. I'm not that brave to go all the way out there on the kayak. Um, Now, being that when we go on the boat, right? When we go on the boat and I see firsthand what it's like, what things are like out there, if I see that it's not too bad, I can get in there, possibly, you know, uh, fish off the bottom, right? If the surface isn't too bad, if it's not too soft, I may consider heading out there on the kayak because we can't go on the boat all the time, right? I was telling Tony that because he has plans on selling his boat, right? My partner in crime. I told him I was not going to take the tractor to Port Mansfield. I'm staying away from Port Mansfield simply because of the chop. I'm the only one that can launch the boat and recover the boat and drive the boat. So if I'm out there launching the boat, what's going to happen? We have people, launching. We have people, getting ready to do the recovery on their boat, and I don't want to be there taking somebody's space and time. So now on Tony's boat, we're looking to launch it on the south side, right? And usually there's no issues there. An easy launch. It can maneuver in shallow water, so we're good. We're good in that sense, right? So Tony wants to sell his boat, but I'm telling him, if you go out there next weekend and everything goes well, and all of a sudden we're getting into the reds, we're doing well, we're having fun. I told him, there's no chance, there's no way you're selling your boat. There is no way you're selling your boat, you know. And the reason Tony wanted to sell his boat is because the impeller needed replacement. Tony, he's gotten to know that boat motor inside and outside. He's a master of that motor now. He's taking it apart. He's putting impellers. He's put a kit on the carburetor. This guy, he's good. He's on the trolling motor. He's opened it. He's cut the shaft. He's rewired it. That's his element. So I'm telling him, Tony, consider selling that boat of yours. Once again, with a boat, you're gonna have different things, coming up. So, like I said, no fishing this weekend, but hopefully next weekend, if the weather is good for the boat, we'll go out there, right? We'll go to those little cuts in those islands. Now, there's several cuts on in those islands, and when I would go out there with my first bass boat, I never thought of fishing those cuts, right? And I know that that's the mecca for the kayakers. A lot of kayakers, they go out there to those cuts, right? So let's say I go out there with Tony to those cuts, and we're getting into the reds, and there's several species out there of fish, several species. We got sheephead, red. We got possible flounder right here. Um, I may take a risk and go on the kayak, right? It's a big risk that I'm taking, but I am willing to risk going out on the kayak. It may be about an hour drive, an hour and change on the kayak, if anything. Um, but that's okay. But I have to get out there first, see it firsthand, things of that nature. Now, if it's not too good to go on the boat, right? Since didn't go this weekend, I got that itch, right? So I wanna once again go to Port Mansfield, but this time take off about 12 midnight from home, right? Take off about 12 midnight from home. Takes me about an hour and change to get over there, get some mullet, maybe about by 2:30, 3 in the morning, I'll be at that spot. So like let's say I get there at 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, about 4 hours of darkness, right? And like I was telling this guy on Facebook, the big boys come out at night, right? The big boys, they're out at night. They're feeding, they're swimming the shoreline. And if you've ever fished at night on a quiet night, you can actually hear the gurgling of these fish, and you can actually hear them feeding, right? So I mean that's music to the ears, when you're out there. Obviously, if it's a little windy, choppy, whatever, you may not get that, but I've heard it in the past where I'm out there fishing. I mean, it's a little muggy. It's placid conditions, and you can hear the fish, you know, blowing up bait out on the water. And all you're looking for is those rods, to start bending. And it hasn't happened to me in the last few years, but in the past, when I would go with my dad, there was a time in the night when all of a sudden we're fishing, but we're fishing with these pin reels, right? My dad wasn't, he calls my reels the Mickey Mouse reels. right? But you're not gonna see a kayaker inshore fishing with these huge pins, right? Um, you know, we're doing light, ultralight type of setup. But hey, I've got 32-inch reds. I've got 36-inch black drum with these Mickey Mouse reels, as my dad says it. I love you, Dad. But we were out there, man. We were out there in Port Mansfield in some island. I don't know which island. Uh, and all of a sudden, I don't know, maybe midnight, 1 o'clock came around, and all the rods they started to go. And I'm talking about 50-pound test line, right? 50-pound test line, and these rods are bending to the knees. RGB mods, yeah, it's getting time where you're gonna see these monster-sized mullets. Um, yeah, I told uh, I told Robert from Coastal GX and Blue Lines that I was gonna make it out there this summer to the beach, and I never did. I never did. It's not my forte. The beach. For that, you need those Blue Lines reels. The ones that Mr. Ray Blue Lines 5.0 uses, and I got the Mickey Mouse. So I had some nice ones, right? Some pens, but I gave them to my dad. Being that I was now on the kayak, type of thing. So I don't have any of those big reels anymore. And I every time I go see my dad and talk to him, I see I see it there. But nonetheless, it's good right there. Where it's close to where he is on his couch. But yeah, I never made it to the beach. I think once I went once with Tony. Maybe caught a catfish, if anything. Expensive. It is expensive, and I'll tell you this much: I pay $85. Right? I spent $85 on the trailer license plate. Right? I spent $85 on the license plate. I only went once, but I need a pair of sneakers. I'm not gonna spend anywhere close to that, if it makes any sense. I don't have any other addictions. I don't like to go out. I don't hang around with the boys. I don't drink, things of that nature. For me, my wife knows it, LPZ. It's going to be for gas, maybe some cigs, right? For gas and cigs, and that's it. The bait, I can catch it. And pues, my bread and butter, LPZ, is the tandem rig, right? That saves you a lot of money right there. You don't have to buy shrimp with a cast net. So roughly on a fishing trip, about $65 in gas and cigarettes, and I'm good. You take care of your gear, and mind you, the the use that I give on my reels, you're talking about cast after cast. Every cast, you're shortening the life of that reel, right? And you're losing grease, right? And it's not very easy to grease those reels because once you open it and put it back, it's never the same. These guys, like the timing on the vehicle, it has to be at a particular mark, at a particular setting. When you separate those gears and you put them back, they're not at that mark, right? You're off maybe one or two gears. So it's never the same. It's not like in the past where you could just dunk it in water and it would work. No, not these reels. So It does get a little pricey as far as when you have to buy a reel, but the reel that I use is a Shimano. Now it went up. It was at $20. First it was at 12. They put a stop to that reel. They made a new one. It's the same one. They just made it shiny and they put it up to 20. Now it's closer to 30, right? So everything is going up. So in all, LPZ 60, about $65 every weekend. Like I said, I don't need clothes. I don't go party. I don't, you know, I do spend on my family, my boys. I do spend on that, on them. But meals and stuff like that, no. So it is pricey. The boat, for example, it's about the same. It's a 6 gallon tank. I only use about maybe a gallon and a half at the most. So one tank is about $20 right there if I go on the boat. So it is pricey once again if you got other expenses combining with your fishing expense. But and that's okay if I use the boat once. If I use the boat twice a year, that's okay because the kayak um, is my love. The kayak. Now, some people they go fishing at the pier. Some people go fishing at the jetties. When you go to the jetties, that's an extra $10, $15. I don't know if the price has gone up. If you go to Arroyo, you're looking at about another $10 to go in, right? And you're looking at some bait because it's a totally different ball game when you go to Arroyo City, simply because live shrimp is key. If you don't drift, you need live shrimp. Cut mullet may not do it at Arroyo City. And Port Mansfield, once again, I hug that shoreline. I love that shoreline. As much as I love the tandem rig, I love the shoreline better. Because if you really look at it, guys, if you're one of those that likes to go in the water, I'm talking about the bay, not the surf. If you hug that shoreline, well, first of all, once you get there, if you see the guys that are out there, they're casting away from the shore, right? You see them, they're casting away from the shore. Those guys, they're gonna catch fish. They're gonna catch fish. But I like to focus on what am I trying to do? Well, first of all, real quick, yeah. Well, the thing is, RGB, uh, the jetties, they've kind of fixed them up a little bit. Uh, I have never been a big fan of the jetties. Um, I've taken my wife and my kids a couple of times. Stay close, right? I don't go out there, but I don't have expectations. I understand the whole thing, right? A lot of people they go to the end of the jetties, and they're catching every species that there is, right? They're catching reds, they're catching sheephead, they're catching um, the jacks, and there's a lot of concerns of people losing tackle, the reels getting banged up a little bit, losing reels, slipping on the rocks. So it does have, I mean, if you're gonna be out there, it has to. I'm thinking it has to be just the guys. You know what I mean? I see a lot of kids out there when I've gone. I see families, which is fine, but and also one thing about anglers is um, I have a very small bladder, if you will, and I need to relieve myself. So I can't be out there without some type of accommodation, outhouse, whatever. You have families, the guys, we do guy things, and and it's cool, but you got kids, families, you can't do anything, and I can't be out there knowing that. There's no place for me to go relieve myself. So that's one of the reasons I can't do jetties. But where I was getting to is you see these guys, right? These anglers, and you see them in the water and they're fishing, and that's all good, and they're catching fish. But the big ones, the big ones, they are by the shore. When I've gotten in the water and I'm getting ready to fish, on days where the water's very still, very still, you see the blowups 5 feet, 10 feet around the shoreline. You see the blowups. You're not gonna see them when the water's choppy and the wind is ripping. You're not gonna see those blowups, right? It's impossible. But on those days when it's super calm, keep an eye on the shoreline. You may. I haven't seen too many tails in Port Mansfield. I've seen the backs of the fish. They're on the grass flats. They're by the shoreline. You catch bigger reds by the shoreline. You catch bigger trout by the shoreline, and you catch flounders by the shoreline. But what do? We want to fish away from the shore, and that's what I do. I fan cast left, middle, mid right, right, and I'm walking. And it's basically what I call it is I'm combing the shoreline. That's what I'm doing. I'm combing it because if you're fishing and you're just doing this to the right, there can be fish all over here, and you're missing all that. So oh man, S- sorry to hear that, man. So many stories, so much that happens out on the water that we don't know about. So much that happens out in Port Mansfield. People getting lost, kayakers, needing rescue. Now URGV, falling in and stuff like that. That's pretty heavy right there. And in a sense, can you imagine if you're the only one out there? And we hear about this. We know it. We know it happens. The swells, they cover they go from one end to the other. And what happened to you happened to my older brother, to my oldest brother, many years ago. He was there with his family. A wave crashed the jetties where he was at, and all his gear went into the water. Uh, I think I loaned him a rod or two, and the rods also. And we're like, hey man, your safety is a whole lot better than the gear. So he's like, no, I'm not gonna. He wasn't gonna go fetch the gear. No, he made it. He survived, and now he's gonna go and pick it up. He's gonna slip, fall, hurt himself. No. So, like I said, guys, that's pretty much it. I'm having so much fun here in Port Mansfield. In the past, I had given up on it. I was fishing that new pier, not the one that they reconstructed, the one on the south end of town. I was fishing that area. Um, I was fishing the north side, not getting anything, and I started to hit Arroyo City. I started to hit the island, and I'm falling in love again with Port Mansfield. It's so awesome right now. I know the winds have not been very pleasing, but that's why I haven't been able to get out to the island, to Port Isabel. And once again, um, be safe out there, guys. The tracker. When am I gonna take the tracker? Well, there has to be coins. That's for sure. Tony has to be available. It has to be my turn to take the boat, and the weather has to be good. So one day I'll take it. And like I said, I wanted to see if I can do an overnighter at Arroyo City on the boat. But once again, you would have to have those placid conditions, beautiful conditions to be out there at night. You know, yeah, go Cowboys. Yes, I'm gonna I'm gonna go and see if I can get my stuff. Get my stuff. I don't have any fish to cook. I have two fish, but those fish are for my mom and my aunt. So I can't get into those fish. So it's the Cardinals, LPZ. It's the Cardinals. But if you're a diehard Cowboy fan, if you're a diehard Cowboy fan, what does Jimmy always say? If you remember back in the day, don't fall asleep on the Cardinals, right? Every time we would play the Cardinals, what would they say? Don't fall asleep on the Cardinals, and we can't fall asleep on the Cardinals. You know, we got to go in there, take care of business, and let's see what happens. But yeah, guys, I'll leave you with that. And like I said, hopefully the weather is good, as to be out on the boat. But if it's not, I'm gonna do that type of fishing, or I get out there, fish a couple of hours in the dark, and then I fish the morning hours. But well, RGB, you know what? I know that like Moreno English goes. I know that Moreno, he's been going to the south side. RGB off the hook. Uh, he's been doing. I think he's taking some classes, right? So I and my friend, he usually goes during the week. The reason you don't see me, RGB, is that when you get there, I'm already out on the spot, right? Remember, I get there when it's still dark, right? And I go and I fish this particular spot, right? I'm at this spot, and then the morning comes, right? The morning comes, and all of a sudden I start fishing away from town, right? I'm fan casting the shoreline. I don't I don't show up right at daybreak and start fishing from where the fence is. I don't do that. Why? Because the word has gotten out, and there are many people out there fishing, and you're shoulder to shoulder. You're especially somebody like me, right, that likes to move. If I would just stay in one area, hey, that would be perfect. I would be there. But I like to move, right? And some people, their pace is a little slower, right? And you're having to maybe stop and wait for them or go around them. So I just, I just head out, right? So when sunrise gets there, most of the anglers, they're behind me big time, right? And I don't have anybody in front. Well, let me tell you, RGV, now I've had boaters. Boaters are starting to do what I'm doing, right? So I'm getting cut off by boaters, and I have to go around the boaters, right? I have to go around them. So and that's getting a little bit of a nuisance. Well, guys, I gotta go. The 45, my wife, she's going to work. I just heard the shine. I gotta go and blow her a kiss, you know. And I'll leave you with that, guys. Until next time, from Port Mansfield, Texas. My God, from far Texas, Anglers 48 signing off.